Good morning, guys. Marini here with another algebra video. Today's lesson is for Wednesday, April 8th. We're in our Quadratics folder. I want to show you a lesson kind of easy. We're going to just look at some characteristics of quadratic equations. The first do now question over here says solve algebraically. So this is something that we have been doing for the past week or so. The equation is x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. So we're going to have to go ahead and solve that quadratic equation. It's already equal to 0, so we can factor it. As you may have guessed, since it's a trinomial, we can do this with AM. So x squared is x times x, and numbers that multiply to -8 and add up to -2 would be -4 and +2. And then we do our t-chart. Remember, you make each of these equal to 0 and then solve for x. So for this one, you would add 4 to both sides, which would make x equal to +4. And for this one, you would subtract 2 on both sides and make x equal to -2. So your two solutions are 4 and -2. Now, you'll also notice here in number 2 that I want you to graph this equation, x squared minus 2x minus 8. That's the same equation as the first one. So if we graph this equation and type in x squared minus 2x minus 8, we'll see this is what the graph looks like. And you can make a table of values. And remember, we can go from -10 to 10. And as I scroll through, I notice I see, -3, 7 is a good point. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see -2, 0. -1, -5. 4, 5. 0, -8. 1, -9. 2, -8. 3, -5. 4, 0. 5, 7. So this is what the equation looks like when you graph it. And there's some characteristics of this graph that I want to teach you guys about today. All right, one thing is the axis of symmetry. That is a new term for us for this year. The axis of symmetry, if you think of what the word symmetry means, it's like, you can fold something in half and it's symmetrical. It looks the same on both sides. Well, if I draw a dotted line down the middle of this graph, it would be here. This is called the axis of symmetry. But in order, what do you write for that? That is a line, and it is a vertical line. That is an equation. The equation of the axis of symmetry is always going to be in the form x equals, and then it's going to be some number. So if I think of 0 being in the middle here, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4, 5, put -1 here, -2 there, -3. You get the idea. That vertical line is going through the x-axis at +1. Okay, it's going through, again, I'm going to draw this again, at +1. So the axis of symmetry is x equals 1. The turning point, or the vertex, that's not new. The vertex is the point that's all the way at the bottom over here. This is called the vertex, which is also known as a turning point. And that is the coordinate 1, -9. And you'll notice if I go to GeoGebra over here, I could tap that point and it says 1, -9. Is that a maximum or a minimum value? Well, the point is at the bottom of the curve, so that makes it a minimum. The y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. I can see here that it is down at -8. I can also tap it over here. That is 0, -8. And the last thing is the roots. Now, we already solved this equation algebraically in the first one and got roots that were 4 and -2. On the graph, you can find roots by looking at where the graph crosses the x-axis. It's kind of like the x-intercepts. And there's 2 of them. One of them is over there. One of them is over there. The one on the left is at -2, 0. And the other one is at 4, 0. And you'll notice -2 and +4 were the 2 answers that we got when we did it algebraically in the first question. So those are some characteristics that I want you guys to be aware of. Axis of symmetry, vertex, is it a maximum or a minimum, y-intercept, and roots. Now also in GeoGebra will also list some of these answers for you. All right, I already typed in the equation. If I hit these 3 dots and hit special points, it actually gives you roots. You see here, A and B, -2, 0, 4, 0. The extremum is just a fancy way that GeoGebra calls the vertex, 1, -9. The intersect y-axis, that's just GeoGebra's way of saying the y-intercept, 0, -8. So it actually gives you a lot of those things. What it doesn't give you is the axis of symmetry, so you're going to have to go and figure that out on your own. From some notes that I would like to fill in for you guys, this is pretty much everything that I just talked about in the previous example. The axis of symmetry is always going to be in the format of x equals and then some number. And remember to draw a line down the middle. The turning point or vertex is going to be the point at the bottom of the point at the top. The maximum or minimum, well, if it's at the top of it like that, that is going to be considered a maximum. And if it's at the bottom, that's called a minimum. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. It's coordinates, so I'll put x, y. And the roots is where the graph crosses the x-axis. All right, so I will do one more with you, and you guys can finish the rest on your own. Here we are going to graph the equation y equals -x squared minus 4x. So let's go back to GeoGebra and type in -x squared minus 4x. And we actually want to only do this one from -5 to 1. So when I make my table, I'm going to go from -5 to 1. And so the coordinates are -5, -5. -4, 0. -3, 3. -2, 4. -1, 3. 0, 0. And 1, -5. So this is what the graph looks like. Because I gave you that interval, we don't have to put arrows on it. So now we're going to find the axis of symmetry. The axis of symmetry, draw a line down the middle, like this. Now remember that this is going to be an equation of x equals, and then wherever it crosses the x-axis. So here in the middle, this is 0. This would be -1. This would be -2. So x equals -2 is the axis of symmetry. You can't just say that it's at -2. You have to say that it's x equals -2. The vertex is this point up top there, which is the coordinate -2, 4. Is that a maximum or a minimum? Well, it's at the top of the graph, so that is a maximum. The y-intercept is actually crossing the y-axis over there at the origin, which is 0, 0. And the roots are the x-intercepts where it crosses the x-axis. One of them is over here, like I already did, 0, 0. The other one's over here. This is the point. This would be -4. So the roots are -4, 0, and 0, 0. Or you can just write that like we used to write that algebraically, -4 and 0. So that's how you do this lesson. Those are the characteristics of quadratics. I'm going to put this up on YouTube and go into Google Meet. If you guys have any questions, I'll see you there.